It's another episode of NRG Insights. For those that don't know, we speak to influential people across the market of the whole of financial services, whether that be bridging, resi, broking, commercial, or ancillary products that kind of assist us in the market. And today I've got Kunal with me from SDKA. Nice to meet you, Kunal.
Nice to meet you, Marcus. Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's an
No
absolute
problem at all.
pleasure.
It's a pleasure. So tell the people, you've actually got an interesting story, but I'll let you tell it. Like, talk to me about your financial services journey and just before that got you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually used to be an airline pilot and did that for 15 and a half years. And I guess the best job I had was being a captain and then a training captain for Emirates Airlines. So me and my wife moved out to Dubai. We had our kids out there, and I guess that was my first passion, and I wanted to be an airline pilot since the age of about 4.
The obvious move to financial services for airline pilot.
Yeah,
It makes,
absolutely.
sense.
I mean, it would be quite interesting to talk about that later on, but I mean, planning to do a long haul trip, maybe over the North Pole on a 17-hour flight, is very similar to actually in preparation to lend. But yeah, more
I
on
was
that
going to say,
later.
actually, the stresses are probably similar, aren't they?
I guess running a bridging finance business is less stressful because you're always sat at a desk. You know, you can go and get a cup of tea and think about it. Whereas,
Not 4 hours sky.
yeah, absolutely, you're not running out of fuel. So I'd say being an airline pilot is definitely more stressful. But yeah, I used to be an airline pilot. When I started doing that, I started buying property myself, similar to what a lot of our clients do, trying to add value, trying to increase rental yield, etc. And then we fell into lending. My father used to be in financial services, was at Lloyd's for 35 years, and so we've always had finance around the breakfast table. After the financial crisis, there was a need to borrow, and I fell into lending, and we started sort of a back of a fag packet approach, I guess, and it wasn't really that professional, and it was lending to people that we knew. But in 2014, sensed there was an opportunity and took advice, and we set up SDK in 2016. We're nearly 10 years on, and really proud of the journey and what we're achieving.
Nice. And so talk to me about that journey, actually. So that 10 years, what have you seen? I mean, obviously that's a vague question. There's so much change, but what have you seen in the market from that initial point where you set up, you saw a kind of a niche, and now what's it been like?
So bridging is certainly more mainstream now, and we certainly see that. And obviously the market has scaled. I think the bridging market is circa 15 billion. And I guess in the earlier days, bridging was really there for clients that potentially couldn't access funds from high street lenders and your more traditional lenders. Whereas now what we see with bridging is actually most of our clients are bank customers anyway. And really bridging is now used very opportunistically. And it's a part of their funding strategy that allows them to.
When do you think that changed? Sorry to jump in. I will jump in occasionally, just because otherwise I'll forget my question.
Yeah, no problem.
When do you think that changed? Was there when it went from I don't want to say dirty word, but it went from bridging being not a very not popular product, but like a bit of a dirty product, to like now just being mainstream. This is what you do to leverage cases. Did you see when that was, or was it just sort of happened over the years?
I think it has been a transition, but certainly COVID was a step change, and we saw what happened during COVID. And access to funds just dried up from the mainstream lenders. They found it hard to pivot from a different way of working to what we have now, and certainly we saw our business scale because we were already ready to lend almost remotely, if you like.
Was that the case? Were you already doing that? It was already like you didn't have to transition too much over that time, because I'm assuming if you're a big beast, then it was a tough time, right? Just trying to navigate that period, but
Yeah,
you were
we
relatively
were.
agile.
Yeah, we were because I was still an airline pilot based in Dubai, and we had staff in the UK, and we were
Were
already
you
in the.
still flying when you opened up SD? How long was it till you went, right, this is my full time now?
Yeah, so October 2019 is when I made the pivot to say I'm,
Right.
full-time energy is going into bridging. So,
Yeah.
we were already in the cloud from a data perspective. We were already working from home, if you like. There was
Yeah,
already
yeah.
mobile phones and laptops. So it was an easy transition for us.
Nice. We kind of touched on this offline, but talk to me about that kind of the transition of your clients since then as well. What's kind of happened, and especially recently. I know we touched on it, but what have you noticed like trend wise?
So I think certainly in the last 3 years, right, there's been so much that's happened, so much has changed, a number of chancellors, government change. But more recently, what we've seen is the change in approach from our, I would say, more experienced clients. And SDK has always been about lending to repeat customers constantly. So more than a third of our book is actually repeat clients. And I talk to them on a daily, weekly basis. But what we've seen is the stamp duty that came into force, stamp duty changes last April have certainly caused a pivot. And we're seeing semi-commercial now is a lot more popular with our experienced clients because semi-commercial properties purchased on semi-commercials come under commercial stamp duty, which is now far cheaper than residential.
Nice. And you've seen that big swing, have you? That has made a difference.
Absolutely, yeah, and we've positioned ourselves for that. So we've increased our loan to value now on semi-commercial to 75%. And as a business, we've always done semi-commercial and commercial bridging. It's an area that we certainly recognise as more of niche. You really need to understand that space. And there's always more risk in commercial lending. Of course there is.
Yeah.
We understand that, and we've supported our clients for years. So it's an interesting market, and and certainly with permitted development now as well, and the change in the planning rules. If you are buying something that's semi-commercial, you can benefit from a reduced stamp duty. Perhaps if it falls within the right location and PD is available, then a lot of our customers are converting and ending with a residential product within sort of 6 months of purchase with the reduced stamp duty position.
And do you think that's is there an education piece to be done on this? Because you're saying like you're experienced developers or experienced clients. Is it known, or do you push it to them as well? Are you letting people know the changes, how it's affected them, and that kind of thing? And do you think we do enough of that to letting people know where the changes are happening and the benefits happen?
No, I definitely think there should be more, and we certainly had a press release a few months ago about semi-commercial, and we're certainly on that journey to educate our clients. And I talk to customers every day, and and a lot of clients are talking to me and saying, we're not seeing prices low enough. There certainly are opportunities, but we've now got this significant transactional cost, and we're talking about semi-commercial and permitted development. And absolutely, I certainly think there should be more that's done, and we're certainly trying.
Yeah. Okay. I'm enjoying it as a business, but also as an industry, right?
Absolutely.
Should be educated more.
Yeah.
Good. So talk to me about the on the client side. Again, I ask this to everyone, and it's genuinely intriguing. I know there's enough business to go around, etc. But you're also up against 240 other lenders, right? And that's not even including the small family offices. How do you get your head above the parapet? I know you started off with like a client base that you knew, but how has that helped? How have you grown and stayed relevant when it comes to so many competitors?
Yeah, so we pretty much run like a premium airline at SDKA. So we're very, very different to the rest of the bridging market. So, when I was a captain at Emirates, a first class passenger would come on board, and the data that Emirates provided to the cabin crew on that customer was phenomenal. And they've been doing this for years, right? So a first class passenger would walk onto the aircraft, and the cabin crew would say, so, if you walked on, Mr. Nansen, pleasure to see you again. Is your first drink a gin and tonic again? They would know what you had done on the previous flights. They'd know what you drank, when you drank it in the flight, and what your routine was, right? So we are very, very service-led at SDKA. So 95% of the phone calls that our customers make into us are answered within 3 rings. Mm-hmm. More than 90% of the emails are replied to within 15 minutes. So it's a service-led approach that our customers, quite frankly, don't get anywhere else, right? And we all experience this. Trying to call the GP and book an appointment, ringing your insurance company, trying to get Eon to come out and fix a gas meter, for example, is a nightmare. So differentiation at SDKA is all about the service proposition. So we don't have a sales team. We don't need a sales team. Our underwriting team are phenomenal. They're phenomenal on the communication. They understand the customers. We get in their shoes. We regularly meet our clients. And you know, this morning we've had great feedback from a customer that actually said, we know that you're not the cheapest bridging lender out there, and we never will be, right? We're not bad on pricing, but by God, we're blown away by the service, and that was on a redemption yesterday.
Funny,
So
the commercial aspect, I have this conversation with people all the time. Commercially, which obviously is most bridging, people aren't, there's only one cheapest, right? There's 240 people, there's only one cheapest. You can only go on service, deliverability, that kind of thing. And actually, you pay a few more bips to get a good job done, won't you? Do you know what I mean? That's why people fly first class. That's why people, you know, don't just apply budget everything, you know, because you'll be happy to do it if the service is there. It's interesting actually you make the connection between them. Do you think that's part of the success because you come from that background of understanding clients, only a completely different industry obviously, but understanding premium clients? Do you think that's made a big difference?
Absolutely, 100%. And you know, where does a customer that's borrowing less than £1 million get great service from? They don't from the banks, right? And the traditional lenders.
They don't even get that from the banks anymore if they're over $1 million.
No, yeah, and there's some banks that if you're lending less than £1 million, you go to a call center. So these customers that are good quality, that actually, you know, we're typically not an adverse credit lender. All our clients are bank customers. They need service when they need something doing quickly, and we are all over that. So yeah, and you know, there's other bits that come into that. So we are tech focused, we're tech enabled. The market knows that our tech has all been built in house. We don't buy off the shelf products. So we're tech powered, but what we don't do is we don't make the customer efficient. We make the back office and the operational processes super slick and efficient, but actually the customer, there's significant human contact there, and that's what they like. So we don't ask the customers to constantly fill out lots of forms and follow all these processes, and they don't ring us and press option 1 or option 2. That's not what we're about. We run a really slick, efficient process in the background, but actually their journey is very, very human focused, and that's where we see the difference going forward.
Do you know what? I think that's so important as well. I know we talk about AI here, AI and tech, etc., but a lot of it's like a tech for tech's sake, but we're the same. All our back office is done now, so we need less people to do the same amount of jobs, but we have the same amount of people that are speaking to people every day.
Yeah.
Because that's the important bit, right? And also that's what people want from us and from you. They want that human interaction, but the slickness and the process, the reason we can do it is because of the tech in the background, as opposed to some completely tech-driven platforms that have lost that human touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think it's ironic actually when I see some of those tech platforms where they say they don't use anyone. It's a little bit like the robo advice things. It turned out there's like 50 brokers sat in a room, and that's how you make robo advice. So it's completely. I don't think we can lose that human side. I think it's some of the tech is a little bit smoke and mirrors when it comes to not having that human interaction. I think there's quite a bit in the background.
Yeah, and that human interaction is required more than ever now, right? And bridging is certainly going to become more and more specialist, and that's certainly how we positioned ourselves. So, you know, the run-of-the-mill bridging will be tech-enabled in 3 or 4 years' time. And I sit on the AI committee at SDKA on a weekly basis, and the improvements that we're making through AI are just phenomenal, and the power of it is incredible. And we all know that, right? It's just embracing it. But it's actually giving the confidence to the customer at speed. And SDK, we really have a great group of people that are technically phenomenal. So we even have, in-house legal at SDK. And the reason for that is that technical ability that's provided at speed gives surety to the customer that we know what we're doing, which in their own mind means that the funds will actually be delivered. And yet, look, we don't.
Take 3 days to come back.
Well, exactly. No, absolutely. Yeah, and we don't do everything, and we don't try and do everything. And by staying in your lane, and we certainly stay in our lane, and we're very good at what we do, the customers.
What's your lane out of interest? What's your kind of niche? Obviously on the service side and the customer side, but in regards to the kind of the products that you offer, where's your sweet spot in the market?
So a lot of our customers will come to us for perceived complex deals, and where speed is required. So of course, we do lots of residential bridging, and that's pretty straightforward. But where you've got a complexity, or you've got something where you need high technical experience right at the start to structure a deal, that's kind of where we sit. But what we don't do is ground up development. We don't like land. We're very clear on commercial. what we do and what we won't do. So, and it's almost sometimes easier to talk about what you don't do because it's smaller. But, we don't lend on petrol stations. We don't lend against care homes. And we're very clear on that. But when it comes to other types of commercial, we're very slick.
Good. And I know you mentioned earlier on, and this is kind of an intrigue for me from a recruitment perspective, but you don't have a sales team.
No.
How do you grow? How do you? Who's still at the trade shows shaking hands?
So actually, look, we certainly believe at SDK it's a long game, and we certainly scale the business in that way. But it's phenomenal service. So and the word just spreads, right? And we've got good branding as well. People know us in the market for We Love to Lend, and we genuinely do that. Yeah, but yeah, it's
great. The figures as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
They're a sales team.
Yeah, so we wear the hoodies everywhere, right? So we're like billboards. But if you provide great service in this market, the brokers will come back constantly. And as I said, we've got customers that have come through a broker, and that broker's said to us, if you hadn't provided the service, we would never have done the 28 loans that we've done to that customer. Or we've got another client at 16 loans, and that's well over £15 million. We're lending to another customer today, and that's loan number 21, I think. And we've just done a press release of loan number 11 to another client, I think a couple of weeks ago. So if you provide a phenomenal service, you're talking to them, you're engaged with them, you understand them, they'll come back. And surely that's the best way to scale a business.
Oh yeah, retained business is the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it shows you've done a good job. Like same for us, we're a referral business. It's incredible because someone says, I trust you with our business, and you should trust them, my friend, with theirs. It's the ultimate, it's the honour, isn't it, of getting to do something again for someone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but again, I'll push this sales side of things. Obviously, you've got your brokers. People know about you, but they're quite insular. Everyone's got their own people they like, etc. And I know it can be kind of word of mouth here, but you comfortable with that? I mean, you're growing every year, right? So clearly it's working. But has that never been in your mind about taking a bigger piece, or is it just this is the way we've done business, it works, we don't need to change it?
Yeah, I mean, look, in the 7 and a bit years that I've been full-time in this business, we have really scaled this business. So we've got 4 institutional funding lines with lots of other pots of money. But it's interesting that you say that the brokers are insular. We quite find the opposite, that the number one development that we have is, and it happens daily, is a broker will ring up, a new broker will ring up and say, hey, Kunal, I've just spoke to X, Y, and Z, and they've recommended that I come to you. And that happens on a daily basis. We also get...
Actually, you're right. When I say about the insular side of things, I'm in WhatsApp groups of brokers and development brokers, and they do share information. It's probably a lot less insular than it used to be now, with the power of social media, etc. But they will recommend you, and they'll pass it on to.
Absolutely, and so do our clients. So I've walked into the office this morning, and we've got 6 new inquiries from customers that have been referred to us by other customers that we've lent to. So and scaling a bridging business is not easy, right? Because of what you said right at the start, Marcus, that there's 200 odd other bridging lenders plus all the rest, and it's a competitive market. So, but of course we do lots of sales things. We get a lot of business from our social media. Our social media is really powerful. So we push on LinkedIn and Instagram, and we're starting to now see some traction from Instagram, certainly from a different demographic.
I've been doing that a lot lately, actually. You've got to commit to it, haven't you? But you've got to look at where our clients are sat.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we're finding on AI as well. So we're getting quite a lot of business where customers or new clients are searching bridging through ChatGPT or whatever, and SDK is coming up there. So look, multiple approaches to getting new business, but genuinely SDK.
How do you move up the ladder with ChatGPT? Do you know this or not?
It's a minefield.
Some people go, we're number 1 on ChatGPT, and you think, you've got to Google it or you pay. How does AI decide who goes up the ladder? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, Marcus, I'm not techie. I sit down with our providers all the time, and they'll have the mechanics to that. But it's working. It's working. That's all I can say.
Whatever they do, it's good.
Yeah,
amazing. So what's next for you guys then? Where do you see the market going and the next few years?
So it's a difficult market, right, at the moment, and we're very honest at SDK in that we're not going to constantly jump up and down saying that
Smashing it,
the
everyone's
market's
smashing
great.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was at the JP Morgan conference earlier this week, and there was 550 people in the room, 200 odd lenders, and the theme is very similar. The key thing is for us to just keep doing more of what we're doing. We're going to keep supporting our customers. We're certainly seeing our customers looking for opportunities. And, this week's been really interesting because all the auctions are back. So we're really busy this week. And just to keep scaling our bridging business, we've launched a bridge to term product, which is now starting to take some traction. And we think that's a unique product in the market. And we certainly think that will become more prevalent for lots of reasons. So yeah, it's exciting times, and the recruitment market, right, has really opened up for us, Marcus, for the first time in the last few years, and we've really been able to, we've recently recruited, and we've got another phenomenal person that's joined the business, and so we'll certainly look for opportunities in that regard.
Amazing. And obviously, if you are not hiring a sales team, you can really focus on those, on that kind of underwriting, the technical side that does make a difference. Although, technical BDMs are still really important. I'm just putting that out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I know you mentioned your marketing. I said it about 20 minutes. I always keep it wrong, so apologies. But because lots of people will look at it, and I'm sure you're happy to kind of give away a few secrets, but they probably don't. We don't have a good enough strategy on social media. We all know we should be on it. We all know we should be aiming it at people, but number one, when did that change your business when you realised how influential it was? And number two, how often do you have to change that strategy, or is it something that you're kind of focusing on? Well, obviously, because that's your lead gen, right? Is it, if you're not doing the sales team side of things, how important is that? And then when did it change?
Again, I think it was probably around that COVID time, and I think everyone was just sort of at home in the home office, trying to teach the kids at the same time, with all the homeschooling, and suddenly people weren't getting out and about, and people weren't meeting, and so I definitely sensed there was a pivot there, and we definitely saw an upsurge. And in terms of the social media strategy, which is really key at SDK, is first of all having a good brand. It's a values-based approach, so our values are absolutely embedded in everything that we do. And it's that drip, and having relevant content that people actually are going to engage in. So podcast is a big thing. I was on another podcast on the weekend just a few days ago.
I can't believe you cheated on me, but I'll let that go.
Yeah, and it's not that salesy thing that people want all the time now, right? So people want to see what you're doing, how you go about that, how is it personal, and they kind of want to get underneath the skin of all that. So our content, we'll have a bit of content on socials that will update on products, and what you'll see is very similar to what lots of other lenders do. It'll be fairly corporate. But actually, a lot of our content, and the content that it takes traction, is the things that we do day in, day out, that perhaps may not seem that exciting, but actually that's the sort of stuff that people want to engage in. So, if we've got somebody on site and it's a really quirky site and we've gone out to have a look at it, we may post about that and why that's different.
That's the things that are going to resonate with someone, isn't it? I think sometimes we concentrate so much on product dropping and that kind of thing, but actually no one cares about. No. If I'm a developer, I don't really care about the products. What I care about is that guy's site looks a lot like the site that I want to do.
Well, exactly.
Exactly.
And we recently did a deal in Newcastle. I think it was like a £2.3 million deal, and it was different. And I think a few other lenders had looked at it, and it was amazing when we posted that, the number of calls that came in with deals that were similar, or we just had calls from brokers just to say, look, I just want to see what was that deal about? How did you structure it? What was unique about it? So exactly that.
Yeah, getting to actually resonate with the customer rather than go, we're good. It doesn't really mean anything, does it?
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate all your time today. Like I said, I took you for longer than I said I would. But if people want to get a hold of you, Kunal, what's the best way? Obviously, all your socials, but our socials when this goes out. But what's the best way of people getting in contact with you? Not for your media.
No, just go on our website, click on my name. You'll see my mobile number and my email address, and just reach out.
Every mobile number on here is loads of weirdos. But very amazing. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone watching. on YouTube, we're listening on Spotify. But I appreciate everyone's time. But thank you very much for your time today, Kunal. It's been really, really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.